What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily Channel with me, Mike Zakarian, as we continue to inch closer to another playoff run with the Boston Celtics. Am I getting ahead of myself a little bit, putting the skis out in front? Yeah, maybe. But listen, it's the end of January, all right? And I've got the Patriots on my mind, too. I'm not used to being able to pay attention to football this late into the NFL season as a Patriots fan. Well, I am, but it's been a few years. You know what I'm saying? The excitement's running around. But we got to focus on tonight, because tonight we have the Brooklyn Nets. Before we dive into tonight's slate, we're gonna talk about the Nets game. I gotta throw a Giannis thing at you that Mr. Bill Simmons brought up, and I'm curious what people's takes are. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit, and then we'll bounce around the league, and we'll get into your comments as we always do, and then we'll get on out of here. All right, so the Celtics are back to. Oh no! Before I do that though, you gotta hit the subscribe. Get involved. Hit the subscribe. All right, the Celtics are taking on the Nets tonight, and they are favored by 8.5, which is pretty fun. I like to see that. They are in Brooklyn. I was on the fence about going to this game tonight. I was thinking about it. For those that don't know, located in New York City, but from Massachusetts though. So everybody relax. Shout out Lakeville, baby. Yeah. So I don't know. I was on the fence with going. I just really don't want to go see the Brooklyn Nets play basketball. I did this recently. I don't want to do it again. No thanks. No thanks. But they take on Brooklyn tonight. Brooklyn, kind of a weird team where they had a stretch, right? They had this like month stretch where they were playing really, really good defense. I think they are a very well-coached team. Jordi Fernandez does a really good job with this squad. But, man, the wheels have kind of fallen off as they've gotten closer to the trade deadline. Michael Porter Jr. rumors have picked up. Nick Claxton rumors have picked up. Day'Ron Sharpe have picked up. One thing I will be paying attention to the Brooklyn Nets showcase some of these guys to try to boost some of their trade value while Brad Stevens is in the building. One note from the Boston side of stuff here is Derek White has got the night off, and I don't know, this seems to be like well-timed. If we look at Derek White's last 10 games, and listen, this is not a Derek White slander channel, all right? I love Derek White. He's still averaging 15, 5, and 5 in his last 10 games. Right, he had that blow. He's had two blow-up spots, right? He had 29 points against the Clippers at the beginning of the month, and then he had 29 points against the Spurs about, 13 days ago. But in between that, look at this. He had a 3 for 15 game. He had a 7 for 21 game, a 1 for 7 game, a 1 for 11 game, a 4 for 10 game. The three-point shot has been kind of wild. 1 for 10 from 3, 3 for 12 from 3, 2 for 7, 2 for 9, 0 for 3, 0 for 6, 1 for 4. So some real struggling from behind the arc. I mean, Derek White impacts winning so much. So, again, this isn't a pause for concern. I think they're just probably like, hey, man, it's Brooklyn. Hopefully, we're able to cruise anyways. But, just take the night off, get healthy. They've got a couple of tough games coming up in the future before the road trip. This to me just seems like a rest spot, which means you might get a little bit more I know you guys are pining for more Anthony Simons, so we might get some more Simons. Could also see a little bit more of Ugo, a little bit more Baylor, a little bit more Walsh. I think everybody will get a little bit more run. And I believe it's just Derek White that's out tonight or even on the injury report, except for maybe, are we still without Why Not, My Not? Man, remember the first 2 weeks of the season? We were just like, can you believe we stole Josh Minot? And now, now I feel like, yes, I can believe. But so no Minot tonight. But I think the Celtics will have their work cut out for them if Brooklyn decides to try. We've seen the last time we played the Nets, I believe this was in Boston. I think it was the last game. Might have been 2 games ago. Michael Porter Jr. really lit us up, right? And this was a game that was in the balance, and then it was like late third, early fourth quarter, and then the last few minutes of the game, too. Michael Porter Jr. just absolutely took over. Our offense shut off, like the faucet was closed, and the Nets, I think that was at home, too. I think the Celtics were at home, and the Nets took that game, and that was a frustrating one. Michael Porter Jr. has since cooled off a little bit. He's still been playing good ball, but Brooklyn has really changed the level of intensity that they're playing with tonight. I mean, the last like month or so, and I think it like weighs on a team when everyone's in trade rumors all the time. Although Sam Hauser and Anthony Simons have done a good job dealing with that. The Nets are relatively healthy tonight too. Hayward Highsmith is their only guy out, but I think the combo of Nick Claxton and Noah Klein, like obviously slowing down Michael Porter Jr. and then being able to establish yourselves down low against Claxton and against Clowney. And Brooklyn, for a long stretch of time, I mentioned the defense, they were really solid at rim protection, and that kind of just fell off. And I don't know if as their records started to get away from them. I don't like I'm not sure what's missing there. Again, it could just be the trade rumors, but with Claxton and Clowney, not Clowney, excuse me, Claxton and Day'Ron Sharpe, you would think they would be able to hold their own defensively. But I'm more interested to see how Day'Ron Sharpe plays tonight. Again, because he's someone that I want the Celtics to target as a backup big. He's been like pretty solid in his limited minutes that he gets. He usually plays around like 22 to 24 minutes. Like he had a 15-9 game against the Pelicans, a 14-6 game against the Bulls. Does a little bit of everything. Leaves a little to be desired on the defensive end. If we're looking for more of a defensive rim protector, I do think Claxton brings more of that to the table. But as I was saying, kind of slipping a little bit in the last couple of games. So things I'm looking for tonight. Does Peyton Pritchard get a little bit of a boost here? I feel like Pritchard's been steady, right? We haven't seen a lot. Like he had 23 points and 8 dimes against the Pacers a couple weeks ago. Not the most recent game, but 2 games ago. And but like we haven't really seen ceiling Peyton Pritchard, And it kind of goes back to something we were talking about last video, where it's like with Derek White specifically. But when all of a sudden you're asked to play outside of your typical role. I think sometimes other things suffer, right? You get stretched a little bit too thin, and Pritchard's been asked to do a lot. He's playing heavy minutes, and he's being asked to do a lot. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful our guy Fast PP can break out a little bit. But again, yeah, Anthony Simons, Ugo Baylor, looking forward to a lot of that tonight. One thing I wanted to bring up as we get into topic 2 here, and again, Celtics favored by 8.5. Should make quick work of Brooklyn, but you never know. That's why they play the games. So last night, as I was falling asleep, because I just input, need to be listening to something as I fall asleep, whether it's white noise, whether it's like some music, whether it's a podcast. So anyways, fall asleep to Bill Simmons, who opened the pod talking about potential Giannis trades, because if you guys missed it, Giannis had some wild quotes the other night. Bucks lost to the Thunder. They were without Miles Turner. Kevin Porter Jr. has an oblique strain, so he's missing some time. And Giannis after the game, and I got to tell you, listen, man, you fool me once, shame on me, or shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, whatever the saying is. He's had a lot of like odd comments about, his frustration either with his role, with his future, with the Bucks playing well. And I know he's missed some time, and obviously the Bucks have been really, really bad when he's missed some time, but they've barely been a 500 team when Giannis has been playing. And in this most recent game against the Thunder, he got smoked. They got smoked, and he only took 11 shots. And after the game, basically called his teammates selfish, which was just a weird move, because Giannis isn't like DeAndre Ayton or like, what's another example? Even like a Shaq, right? In the sense that, they need to be given the ball in order to do something, right? Like they're not going to initiate their own offense. I mean, Giannis is like a one-man fast break, right? We've seen point Giannis. We've seen, like, he's the one that runs the offense. So if he's not getting the ball, to me, it's like, well, go take the freaking ball. You're the Greek freak, right? You can do this on your own, my man. So it was a very bizarre thing. And also, it's not like Ryan Rollins or Derry Bird, AJ Green, or Bobby Portis were taking like 45 shots, right? Like, what are we talking about? So clearly the frustration is mounting, and even though it seemed like Giannis was set to finish the season with the Bucks, feels like trade rumors are starting to pick up. And if I had to bet, if I was a betting man, I would say that Giannis is still in the Bucks at the end of the trade deadline, and then he gets moved in the offseason. But I would say that's closer to like 60-40 than it was like 2 weeks ago, where I thought it was like 90-10, And Simmons threw out there. Now, again, one, he doesn't think they're going to do this, nor that they should do this. 2, I am against this. I'm vehemently against this. I don't want this. So before you come at me in the chat, I'm just repeating information that I got, or rumors that I got. So the Bucks got to trade. If they're going to trade Giannis, they want to. They're twofold, right? Giannis won them a chip. So he's going to have some say in where he goes. Also, Giannis has to be the one, that he's got 1 year left on his deal, and then you got to sign an extension similarly to Anthony Davis, right? And so you don't want to, trade the farm and then not know if Giannis is going to stay on your team. But at the same time, the Bucks want to get something back. And the trade that was posited was basically a Tatum for Giannis. A Tatum for Giannis. Listen, first of all, no. I want Jason Tatum on this team forever. I love Jason Tatum. JT's Boston. Also, I saw JT's I think it's his girlfriend, LMA, has a new album coming out. Tatum is the executive producer. Are you gonna trade an executive producer? No. Forget NBA champion. Forget consecutive first team All NBA. EP on an album? Come on, man. What we can't miss. And like I understand the thought process behind it, where if you're bought, and he joked that Danny Ainge would have done this trade already, but you look at the Eastern Conference and you're not really scared of anybody. The Knicks have been an absolute dumpster fire. Detroit's been the only consistent team, and even they seem beatable, as we saw in our game on the road against them not too long ago. And you're like, when Tatum comes back, you're only getting like probably 80% Tatum, who's only playing 20 minutes. And if you're able to do Tatum for Giannis, like it probably shortens your window a little bit, because I feel like Giannis's career will taper off well before Tatum's. But I mean, you immediately become the favorites in the Eastern Conference if you just take somebody who wasn't playing, remove them from the equation, and then you drop in 35 minutes of Giannis Antetokounmpo. So like, yeah, of course I understand it. I think it would really mess with the chemistry of the team. And for me personally, I'm just like really turned off by what we've been seeing from him in the last month or so, or just like how he's kind of dealt with this, like where he says these like absolute statements that are not absolute, where he's like, I would never request a trade, but like, who knows what tomorrow will bring. And it's like, what? That's like, I'm 7 feet tall, except when I'm not. Like, what are we doing? What do we do? This feels like I've opened a fortune cookie, but the person that was writing the fortunes was drunk as hell, right? So I don't know. I'm out on that. I'm not interested in. No, thank you. I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in that kind of move. But I thought like the thought exercise was kind of interesting. But I'd rather just ride this team out, see what we get with Tatum, and then come back to the drawing board. Next time out. But curious what other people's thoughts are. I know some people, I feel like you either love Giannis or you hate Giannis, but I don't know. I just wanted to I wanted to pop around the East here, because again, like Detroit keeps winning games. Detroit actually in a fun game tonight if you don't want to watch Celtics Nets. They're playing the Houston Rockets, who lost an overtime game to the 76ers last night. But the Pistons now 5.5 game lead, 32-10. I'm looking at the rest of the squad, though, the rest of the East, right? So the Knicks, the Raptors, the 76ers, the Cavs, the Magic. I'm sorry, Miami. I'm not including Miami in this, even though they're kind of right there. Of the teams that we just listed there, like who scares you the most? I'm not going to include Detroit. Because Detroit, I think, is a legit team that one way or another is going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, I think at some point you're going to have to go through Detroit. But of those teams, who scares you the most? It's kind of like, I guess, and I'll make the case for all of them here. Cleveland, you want to make a case for Cleveland? They're starting to win some games here. They are 6-4 in their last 10. They're 5 games over 500. I would say the fact that they are still in it, while one, not being healthy, and two, playing like ass. Like if they actually put things together here, I think they could be a scary team. They kind of feel like the Minnesota Timberwolves of the Eastern Conference, where like you look at the standings and the Timberwolves are still right there, but I feel like they haven't been playing good basketball. They need a point guard. Cavs, on the other hand, they need some defense. They need some bench help. I don't know what moves they had to be made, but like that's the case for Cleveland. Orlando, same thing. Like Orlando, they're in the 7th seed. They're 3 games over 500, but like they haven't had Franz, Paolo, and Suggs together, like I think at all this season. And one of the things they benefited from with all the injuries is they find like, oh, Anthony Black can hoop, man. Like Anthony Black is a true 6 man. You put him next to like Franz, Bane, Wendell Carter Jr., Paolo, whoever, right? So I still think like Orlando, if they get healthy and can figure it out, would be a scary team. We know they can defend at a high level, even though we haven't seen it this year. The 76ers here, they're 5 games over 500, and they like Joel Embiid is playing consecutive basketball games. Paul George has barely played. Kelly Oubre missed a ton of time. And then VJ Edgecombe has turned into like a absolute smash of a draft pick with the 3rd overall pick, right? And then Maxey doing some MVP, like light MVP work. So 76ers, I think, are legit, but I wouldn't say I'm scared of any of those teams in a 7-game series. And then there's the Raptors, who I think could be pretty active around the trade deadline. And they've got some interesting pieces. Their rookie Colin Murray-Boyles has looked really, really nice. Scotty Barnes has been playing at an all-NBA caliber level ball. Brandon Ingram has given him some life. And then Emmanuel Quickly, who has had like a coolish start to the season, is starting to heat up here in the last 2 weeks or so. And I think Toronto could be in the market for a big man. I think if you want a dark horse Anthony Davis team, because there's been Anthony Davis's agent came out and was like, yeah, I want him traded by the end of the week. Like, cool story, bro. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But I think Toronto could be active. And if you all of a sudden, like Jakob Poeltl, their center, has barely been playing, you drop AD in there and he stays healthy, which is a huge if. I think that could be a scary team. And then the Knicks, man, who, again, you want to talk about active teams around the trade deadline, there's somebody as well. I mean, they've been terrible as, like, their defense has been awful, but yet still they're 26-18. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like they're out of it. So curious to hear what you guys think. Like, what are the scariest spots for you guys? I think I would rank them, obviously, Detroit. But I think Orlando's like the second scariest team. That's the one that I'd be the most nervous about. But let's get to some of your comments here from our most recent video. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe if you haven't done it yet. All right, let's start with our guy, JJ Cruz. He says, so true. As in sports, so in life. Human condition is to imagine problems that don't exist. Then we ruminate, rack our brains on how to cross a bridge we may never even get to. We just need to work with what is, not with which isn't there yet. Yeah, and that again, that's referencing, if you miss it, all that conversation we had yesterday about everybody doing pieces about how Tatum's ego might be an issue when they come back. Like, okay, man. We got Fergus Hart says, hey, fam, I was thinking about the double big lineup from last season. Are we too small, or does Tatum solve the problem? Can we be elite team and be the size that we are? I mean, to me, that's the biggest issue is, like, again, the Luka Garza stuff is awesome. I'm loving this story. I think when we get to the postseason and, like, the rotation shrink a bit and, like, you play the same team over and over again, you find weaknesses and you just needle them. I feel like Luka is somebody who could be exposed a little bit on the defensive end in a playoff series, so I would like to do it. Darren Anderson said, the more you've talked about the Celtics not making a big trade, the more I've thought about a small one for a win now, plus also waiting for the buyout market. Great point about the buyout market, BT Dubs. Small trade I'm looking at is simply to secure our second unit and make it a group that competes with some starters. The Celtics trade Boucher, Shireman, and a second, maybe 2 seconds to the Kings for Westbrook and Ellis. In the buyout market, you go after Vooch to secure a second unit. If Tatum comes back in the team, you got Kata, Tatum, Brown, White, Pritchard, and the second unit of Vooch, Hauser, Ellis, Simmons, and Westbrook. Listen, I'm very interested in Keon Ellis. I think it might cost a little bit more than that, although the Kings aren't even playing Keon. I love Keon. Russ, I don't know if I want to put in this squad, but I'll hear it out. The Chicago came out and said they're not moving Vooch and they're not going to buy him out this year. But I'm listening. I'm listening. John Dean said the Celtics are going to hold tight, playing with some house money. They might lose a few when Tatum comes back. JB numbers will come down. Hopefully, he won't end up in the top 3 for turnovers this season. JB's been hooping. I'm not here for the turnover talk. JB's been hooping. All right, last one. Our guy Chewy says, keep Simons, trade Tillman and Brown, and picks for Giannis. Giannis, Tatum, White, Pritch, Cater would be nearly unbeatable. Wow. Okay, Chewy. We went the other way. Actually, I'll do 2 more comments because somebody said Yeti in the chat says more fake hype. Like, what do we... Okay, Yeti. And then the other one was Black Deadpool Earth 2046 said, I hate the Celtics. Well, Black Deadpool, all I can say, 2 things. 1, thank you for watching the Celtics Daily. And 2, I hate Deadpool. All right, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe. We outskis.